welcome. This is Movement Mondays. We do something every Monday night with few exceptions. And tonight is a very extremely special night because it's the first night of a three-part series on the inner sanctuary that has been very generously offered to us by Russell Bishop, whom I think you all know. The other two nights will be I believe the 10th and 17th of July. We will send that out as well. But welcome. Steve, do you have anything you want to add right now? Steve's good. All right, so all systems are go. I think you really came here to enjoy this presentation of Russell's. And Russell, I just want to offer really immense gratitude for this and for this immense sharing that you're doing. I've gotten just massive amounts of requests for when's it going to be, how long is it going to be, all sorts of questions. So there's a lot of excitement around this, maybe because it's your birthday too. So welcome and thank you. And let me know if you need any kind of technical assistance. I need to make you a co-host, really.
Yep, I was going to ask for that, so I'll be sharing my screen in a little bit.
Okay, it's all yours, Russ.
Well, welcome everyone. As you know, I'm Russell Bishop. I think many of you, if not most of you, will know me from Insight seminars. And if you haven't been through Insight, this will be an interesting excursion into some of the creative ways that our mind has a way of working with energies seen and unseen to bring about change in our lives, to manifest that which we might prefer, all kinds of things. So I'll be going into that. As Janet said, this is a three-part series. I've also been working on a longer series that will probably be offering sort of late summer, early fall, to really go into even more depth about how this tool can be used in all kinds of areas of life. With that, I'd also like to say most of us here are familiar with what we call calling ourselves forward into the light. If that's not something you're familiar with, we use light as a acronym for living in God's holy thoughts. And we like to invite the presence of spirit, the divine, God, or whatever name or language you prefer. I always like to say God never named itself. It took human beings to do that. So it probably doesn't care what we call it. So I'll just kind of do this the way I like to do it. So I say, Father, Mother, God. We ask again to be filled, surrounded, protected by the light of the Christ and the Holy Spirit. We ask for the mystical traveler and preceptor consciousness to be with us, to guide and direct our time together, to bring forward only that which is for our highest good, and to take from us any karma, negativity, or imbalance that we can release, dissolve it all in the light for the highest good of all concerned. We ask that anything that is revealed to any of us be done so in ways that we can understand, along with the strength and the courage to act on it. And for this opportunity to be in loving fellowship with one another, we truly give our thanks, and we recognize that the blessings truly already are. And so it is. Sometimes when we do these things, we also like to chant for a moment or two. And the chant, we call it Anai Hu. Hu is spelled H-U. It's an ancient name of God that's been found in Sufi traditions. It's been found in the Torah. It's been found all over the planet. And it's one that we've been using for a long time. And when you put the word Anai, or sometimes Ana, in front of it, it all comes out of the Sanskrit. So we don't really have English letters, but we'll use them anyway. That invokes the spirit of cooperation and empathy. So if we chant Anai Hu, we're really saying, can we be in empathy and compassionate cooperation with God, with the divine? So we'll just do 3 of them right here, and I'll start it out and you can join if you wish. Anai Hiu. Anai Hiu. Anai Hiu. And so our welcoming screen. This is the Sacred Sanctuary. The subtitle is Accessing Your True Self. And that you see the book title of mine, the English version on screen right now, From Self-Talk to Soul Talk. And that's a book I wrote to really look at what underlies the teachings of Insight seminars and how it translates spiritual teachings into practical day-to-day living. This is a book that John Roger, my teacher, asked me to write many years ago. It took a while, and I finally got it out there. It's also available in Spanish, and we'll see a slide on that one later on. I point this out because some of what we'll be doing here is also outlined in the book. So if you're looking for specific practices, exercises, or meditations that work with the sanctuary, you may find this to be particularly useful. I love this image. It's taken from a desert in Arizona, and I just skipped ahead. And you'll see the light coming into a cave underground, and it's the most amazing cave to experience, and watch how the light changes through the day. Put a quote up here from Jonathan Swift, because in many respects, what we're dealing with is the art of vision. And he said vision was the art of seeing what is invisible to others. Many years ago, I had a mentor of mine whom I hadn't seen for several years, a woman named Frances Hesselbein. I was meeting with her in her New York office, and we hadn't seen each other in probably a dozen years. And she didn't start by, "Oh, Russell, how are you? What are you up to?" All that kind of stuff. She simply said, "Russell, what are you seeing that's not yet visible?" And that's a really profound question, especially at the time. And it reminds me that John Roger, a teacher for many of us here, would often say the information is available to us. The only question is, are we available to it? And what part of what it means is the ability to look. But the challenge of looking is that it implies seeing with our physical eyes. And often what we're really learning to do is see with the inner eyes. And so as we go through this exercise, both today and in the coming weeks, we'll be learning a little bit more about how do we access that inner vision, something that is sometimes called intuition. And I like to think about as a way to access divine support and inner guidance. John Roger, again, a teacher for me and many of us here, said the most important tool is your purpose for the journey. And so as we think about anything we might be journeying into, if it's about creating a different quality of life, an improved relationship, a new career, anything that you might want, it's important to keep purpose in mind. So we won't do a lot of work about purpose in this particular workshop, but we will refer to that from time to time. And I just remind you, it's a lovely notion to keep in mind. So sanctuary, why sanctuary? What is the sanctuary? Way back when, in 1978, when we created this, originally I called it the workshop. And John Rogers suggested, well, why don't we call it the sanctuary? Because it has a dual meaning. A sanctuary can be a place of peace, and it also can be a place of spiritual support. And of course, peace and spirit often go hand in hand. So the first notion about a sanctuary is that this is an inner process. In our mind, we're going to be imagining that there's a physical place, but the physical space is actually between our ears or inside our heart, or some other way you might want to think about that. But it relies on using our creative imagination. And when we're constructing this inner place, It'll have some mental aspects to it. It'll have emotional aspects to it. It'll have physical aspects to it, all of which help us bring into sort of relief, if you will, a form of clarity. And it's a tool to enhance clarity and bring about change. It really helps us build awareness at an inner level. And one of the interesting things about awareness is that many of you will have heard of this thing called the law of attraction. And that's been written about called The Secret. And I always have a giggle with that. The secret is only, I don't know, older than God, because there's no secret, unless, of course, you don't know it. And part of what happens here, we'll go into this a little bit, and I'll probably touch on it in the coming weeks as well. But one of the ways that attraction works, a good friend of mine named Jim Doty, who is a well-known, world-renowned neurosurgeon at Stanford who works closely with the Dalai Lama, has explained the neuroscience of how this works. And we've all heard the notion that if you want to create a change or a new habit, you need to do a repetitive process for 30 or 32 days or maybe even more. And part of what we're looking at here is the notion that change takes place because we focus on the change. Well, that may seem obvious, but how does it work? And as Jim explained, as we rehearse, meaning visualization, affirmation, vision boards, anything that helps us create an image of where we might want to go in life or what we might want to experience, it begins to build new neural pathways. And part of what that does is it changes our ability to recognize what's already in our environment. And the metaphor Jim uses is sort of comically taken from the military, night vision goggles. And if you're familiar with night vision goggles, there's something you can put on, and in complete blackness, it allows you to see sort of the heat signatures and images of what's already there, just not available through our normal vision. And the interesting thing here is that as we practice with the inner tools of visualization, affirmation, etc., we start to notice the night vision goggles seeing what's already present. And so this may sound anywhere from obvious to cuckoo land for you, but just play along. What you'll find is that there's a way to build inner awareness, inner vision, intuition. Sorry, somebody has unmuted, and it'd be nice if we could get away from that. Thank you. The sanctuary can also be used to help us improve relationships, our physical and mental health, our various aspects of well-being, and even access knowledge. And we do so by tuning in and accessing inner guidance, intuition, and knowledge. So a way to think about it is if you're at a crossroads in life, arrows are pointing in different directions, you and a partner aren't sure which way to go. This is a tool that can be quite helpful in developing awareness about possibilities, testing out choices, and making them come real to you. Now, in a moment, we'll be getting into the sanctuary. And before we do so, there'll be plenty of time for questions. Then we'll do a little meditation on the sanctuary, and there'll be more time for questions and more information. So one of the things that people have said over the many years is that when we quote, build a sanctuary, it's an inner mental process where we're visualizing a place that has rooms to it, a place that has tools in it. And many people will say, yeah, when I have my eyes closed, I don't visualize, I don't see things. And I always like to say, well, at the inner level, seeing can be, for some people, kind of technicolor and sort of in today's world, 4K, HK, high definition, ultra high definition. But for most of it's not that way. If I said, whatever you do, don't think of a white polar bear, or don't think of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, whatever came to mind, that's how visualization works for you. Now, for some of you, that will have been a crisp and bright image, and some it's just more like a sense or a feeling. Maybe you've been there. I mean, I can remember being at the Eiffel Tower example, and I could hear what the sounds were like there. And I also got a feeling of what it was like to go up in it. So inner vision is a blend of senses, if you will. So don't be too concerned about how crisply you see something when we ask you to make it. Just cooperate with the notion of I'm building it inwardly. Above all, whatever happens in the sanctuary is yours, including the sanctuary itself. So we do need to make it personal. And at these inner levels of creation, anything is possible. We'll be showing you ways to access master teachers. That could be a spiritual teacher, your inner master, a spiritual guide, could be a healer if you're dealing with a health issue. If you're trying to learn a new skill or a capability, there are teachers, inner guides who can show up. And again, you don't have to believe that. We'll just experiment with it and see what happens. It can be quite revelatory. But as Francis said to me way back when, what are you seeing that's not yet visible? Part of what we want to do here is recognize that there's a future out there that we're moving into. And in many ways, that future is calling us. John Roger used to say, are you being pushed by your past or pulled by your future as you live in the present? So this is a way of noticing that there is a future that I'm being pulled into, but it's a future of my own creation. This begins to tap into this thing called intuition. Intuition is sometimes thought to be the domain of a few people, when in fact, it's the domain of everyone. And I want to say a little bit more about that. If we go into the dictionary, intuition is defined as, and I love it says to see there, the power or faculty of attaining direct knowledge or cognition without any evident rational thought or inference. And all kinds of things have been revealed to people via the access of their own intuitive skills. You all have intuition. Whether or not it's been exercised is another story. And as I note in the book, I write about the history of intuition. The word itself comes from a Latin word, intuere, which in its original form, intuition meant literally to look at. It didn't mean some flash came from the outside. It meant I looked and I saw. So part of the game here is learning to look and see, even if it's not available in our physical eyes. And I love this Albert Einstein quote: "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift." And that kind of, in many ways, explains the world we live in right now, where so much has been defaulted to prove it. And there's so many things in life we can't prove. You can't prove your own experience, except you can have it. It doesn't matter whether anybody believes your experience, it's yours. So we're going to work with this in several kinds of ways. When it comes to manifestation, here's an abbreviated quote that John Roger wrote about in a book he called Living the Spiritual Principles of Abundance and Prosperity. When manifestation results in a change of consciousness, and you notice that I highlighted those words in yellow. Manifestation results in a change of consciousness. I mean, that could be a meditation all by itself. What does that mean? So if you want to manifest your dreams, well, does the dream come and then a change in consciousness, or is it a change in consciousness and then a manifestation? But what's really interesting here, and we'll play with this as we go along, as we focus on the inner qualities that we'd like to see be different, as well as the physical manifestation of them, what's curious is that we no longer need to see the form in the outer world, but instead move to the very essence of its fulfillment within. And that's what's really kind of interesting. Once it's fulfilled within, we truly have it. And one of the interesting things about manifestation, and this is kind of what the folks who are writing The Secret were trying to say, is that as we produce the inner experience, we start to find the outer ability to match, and then we can move in harmony with the way all of that works. As JR would say, you don't possess something as a form, but as you essence it, if I can make essence into a verb, as we live the essence of the being, we then have what we're truly seeking. I like to quote Rumi a lot, and I love this one. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself. And I put this quote in here because one of the major tools and major applications of the sanctuary is the ability to create change within. And what's really interesting, at least in my 70-some years of doing this, the more I change something within myself, the less external change matters, because I then find a way to move in harmony with whatever's present. So, well, this computer's being fussy with me today. So as we go through them, we're going to look at a variety of things in here about, again, relationships or health and well-being, spiritual awareness, accessing teachers or inner knowledge. I love this little tease. It says, it's impossible, said pride. Well, it's risky, said experience. It's pointless, said reason. And the heart said, give it a try. So we're going to go into giving it a try. And I put this one back up with a slightly different verbiage. Let the light illuminate your heart and reveal your soul's wisdom. So in many ways, what the sanctuary does, it allows us to bring light into areas of theoretic darkness. I say theoretic darkness because at some level, everything's already clear inside, but I may not be focusing on the clarity. We probably all are familiar with the notion of shadow. And from that Jungian perspective, we all have a shadow, that darker side of our behavior and so on and so forth. But one of the things I learned going way back to graduate school in counseling psychology and clinical psychology and all that kind of stuff is that the more people seem to dwell on the negative, the more they have the negative. The more they focus on the shadow, the more shadow there is to experience. Now, that's not to say it's not to be noted, but it is to say, perhaps easily said this way, if I notice the shadow, where am I looking? And the answer there is away from the light. So if you literally are seeing your own physical shadow, it's a perfect metaphor because it means your back is to the sun or the source of light. And if you don't want to deal with the shadow, simply turn to the light. And so this is a process of turning to the light. Now, before we go into the sanctuary meditation itself, and a little bit more about that, I want to pause for a moment and ask, does anyone have any questions, any comments, anything you'd like to address before we begin the meditation? And if you do, at the very bottom of your screen, there's a little button that says reactions. And there you can raise your hand, a virtual hand. If you roll over that, I'm going to pause for a second. The reactions button has a little virtual yellow hand that says raise hand. If you'd like to ask a question or make a comment right now, please just hit the raise hand and we'll go from there. And I see Judith Johnson has a hand up.
Happy birthday, Russell.
Thank you, Judith.
When you were just talking about the preparing the place inside yourself in that process of, when you want something, that that you have to really take ownership of it on the inner. It reminded me of concept that I work with all the time and it's had great meaning for me is I think of it as preparing the manger for the Christed light to come and be there. It can't be there unless you make the place for it to be. So I just wanted to share that.
That's beautiful because it's in fact exactly that, preparing a place.
Yeah.
And
Thank
in
you.
many ways, the place is already prepared. So I have to move into the preparation. And then we all become one at the same time. Beautiful. Thank you, Judith.
Sure. Thank you.
Noemi.
Hi, Russell. Happy birthday. Thank you for this session. It's wonderful so far. My question, I have been thinking about the sanctuary. I'm a graduate of Insight, up to Insight 4. And what about, or how do we compare that with the now metaverse? Because in the metaverse, everybody's creating a reality and actually living that reality. And the mind doesn't know the difference between what is real and what's, so actually, can metaverse be used as a tool, like to actually see our sanctuary? I mean, I haven't used it. I don't know how it works. I have heard of it, but is it possible to use it as a tool? And what is the difference between living, let's say, in our sanctuary and imagine that, and then, oops, we wake up and then it's like, oops, I'm here, I'm still here. How do we connect, or how do we, the sanctuary comes from within, but how do we turn to the light and expect and be open, as Judith said, create that space to be open to receive? Thank you.
Well, that could be a seminar series all by itself. And one of the things about metaverse that might be simply summarized as this: it's a great way to make up a story about something that's not yet understood. And another way to say that is everything already exists. It's whether or not we're aware of it. And so in many respects, what we're doing is we're bypassing the mind's need to try to understand something. So you have electricity where you live. Do you know how to turn the light
Yes.
on?
Yes.
Do you know why the light works? When
No.
you turn a lamp on, do you know why it works?
Well, yes, in general terms, but not step by step, so to say.
And see, what's really interesting there is that I'm doing work with some of the quantum physicists, leading thinkers in the world. And the physicists cannot agree on what light is. Is it a wave form? Is it particular form? That conversation and argument's been going on for a long time, but it doesn't stop us from using it. So we figured out how to make a light bulb work with a combination of gas and filament, but that gas and filament doesn't make it work. It has to have an electrical source coming into it. So what's the electrical source? Well, I plug it into the wall. Does that mean if I put a plug into any wall, it will work? No, it has to go into the right receptacle. Well, what's that? It's one that's connected to the power source. Well, what's that? Well, it's coming from something that looks like water or steam or gas or whatever, but what's that? But it basically boils down to is the universe is nothing but energy. And we're plugging into a source of energy. So in the work that I do with people, I always like to say, hey, if this whole electrical metaphor, I'm the wire. I'm not the plug, I'm not the bulb, and I'm not the light. I'm just the wire. And the energy passes through me, and at the other end of it, we have light. So if I were to say to you, if trying to understand this is the most important thing for you, you may miss the most important benefit from it. But if you gather the benefit, you may begin to have a form of understanding that surpasses the mental ability to describe. So we're going to work at the level of the energetic and less about the level of the physical. although the physical will be a world we'll begin to see some of its results. But we may be hard pressed to explain why it works.
Thank
And
you.
lastly, with that, JR used a metaphor many, many years ago, said, just imagine if a sort of a Neanderthal type, literally from millions of years ago, wound up in your kitchen, and the Neanderthal was thirsty. They might die in the kitchen of thirst, not knowing the water was right there in the tap. So the water's always there. We just have to learn how to access it. And part of what the sanctuary is going to reveal itself as is a tool to access the living water, to access the energy that produces the light, that in fact is the light. So bear with me and we'll see where we get. Thank you for your question. Pablo, we'll take Pablo and Ronaldo and then we'll move on into the
Happy birthday, Rosa.
Gracias.
I was thinking about the best strategy to bring healing to part of my body, but you already answered the question. Just let the energy flows and clean. Do you have any other strategy to apply in the sanctuary, during the sanctuary?
Yes, I'll do a little bit about this tonight, and the session on July 10th will be very specifically focused on using the sanctuary to access knowledge and healing. I want to make the direct statement, I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not saying this is a medical tool, but it is an awareness tool. And many people have used it to facilitate their own healing. So this isn't a promise of anything, but it's an awareness tool. And so we'll try to show you a little tiny bit about that tonight and more to come.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Pablo. Ronaldo.
Dear Russell, I join in the chorus of Feliz cumpleaños.
Gracias, Emil.
My first thought is thanks for the wonderful introduction. Thanks for the kind of what I think is kind of like an opening the doors. I have this all of a sudden this chant inside of me of open says me. So it's kind of a okay. Let's and I think I've shared with you that in the past I've had these certain, I'll call it struggles or misidentifications about sanctuary and what have you. And it's kind of interesting as you've talking and the way you've described things and so forth. The first thing that I become aware of is that the many ways I'm already doing the sanctuary, and I quite maybe have not identified it as such, have not given myself credit for such. And it's kind of like, it's like breathing, like sometimes you go, well, did you breathe today? Yeah, I breathed today. That took place actually quite a bit during the day. But so for me, at least, as I'm speaking to myself and sharing, is part of the awareness is that this is going on. And I'm now just making myself more available and conscious of something that is taking place already. So I wanted to say that as a starting point.
Thank you, Ronaldo. That's a great point to insert at this point. So let me use the breathing that you mentioned. Probably most of us today haven't spent a whole lot of time being consciously aware of breathing. It just takes place. But there is something called conscious breathing. And in fact, it's a technique that John Rocker suggested to focus on your breathing as a way to begin opening the access to the inner awareness of spirit. And in fact, he had a meditation he did where he simply said, focus on your heart. And as you breathe in, breathe the word God. And focus on your heart as you breathe out, and breathe out God. And just keep breathing God, 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 and worlds start to open up. Well, the breathing's going on all the time, but is it conscious breathing? So what's going on inwardly at these other levels is focus, visualization is going on, just not very consciously. And I remember when you asked me a few weeks or months ago about this visualization, I asked, can Can you remember where you grew up and the room you were in as a little boy and you could? Well, that's easy to bring back because you've got practice with it. Focusing in the other areas that we might go into is harder because we don't have much practice in it, but we're building practice. So just like conscious breathing takes a little bit of conscious focus, but the more practiced I get, the more deeply I can go in it. So we'll play with all of that. So thanks, folks. We're going to get ready now for the meditation. And did I do it? No, I didn't. Yeah. Let me see. One of the things I forgot to do. So I'm going to bring some music in. I'm just going to change my sharing screen. If I were as good at this as I used to be, I'd know how to do all of this together, but I'm not that way. So if you just let yourself relax into wherever you're seated, wherever you're find yourself in your home, your office, wherever. And you might just want to let your eyes become closed. I'm going to bring in a little background music. And let me ask you this question. Is the music level okay for you? Yeah? And you can hear my voice okay? Beautiful. And so, as this beautiful music begins to come through, let it build, surround, and protect you with the light. Let yourself go more deeply into your own breath. And as you focus on your body, into your heart, just imagine breathing from your heart, breathing in grace, breathing in peace, breathing in light. And as you breathe out, imagine letting go of any tension, any concern, anything that's not here for you right now. We can just place it in the light and let it go. As we release, we move ever more deeply. We just notice the relaxation beginning to take place. As you relax ever more deeply, we're going to begin the process of imagining a sanctuary. Now, those of you who've been through Insight and built a sanctuary, you can bring that one to mind and make any changes you might want. For those for whom this is new, we'll do an abbreviated version. Just bring to mind right now a place that you would find peaceful, restful. Might be a place in nature, could be in a meadow, by a stream, a mountaintop, could be at a seashore. Be some place that really brings to mind for you the notion of peace, the notion of safety. Perhaps it even means sacred. And wherever this is, whether it's the meadow, by the sea, on a mountaintop, or whatever it might be, just imagine that you're able to construct in your mind a perfect, could be a building, could be an imaginary, energetic field, but something that's yours and yours alone. It might have walls, might have glass, it might have structure of any kind. But just imagine right now, if you had the most ideal facility, what might it be like? For me, I originally imagined that trees grew up to form the walls with a canopy of stars inside a bubble of light. And the bubble of light made the whole place safe and secure. Other people have had walls of glass and some no walls at all. If you have a facility, a structure, a building, if you will, what might yours look like if it's ideal for you? And don't worry about it being perfect right now, because at these levels, as we grow with awareness, they can change, and we can change with it. But for the moment, just imagine there's some form of structure. Again, it could just be an energetic bubble, but inside of it, it's yours, it's safe, it's serene, and it's yours only. You can invite others to visit if you wish, but no one comes into your sanctuary on their own. Only you. Again, you can invite others if you wish, and we'll address that later. So imagine, how do you enter this sanctuary? Is it a door in a traditional sense? Is it some kind of energy screen that lifts because it recognizes you? And how do you get in? Is there a key? Is it your own aura and inner frequency? Maybe there's eye recognition, or it hears your voice, but somehow the sanctuary opens to let you in because it recognizes you and you only. And as you step into this sanctuary, what might the inner environment look like to you right now? It could be a vast open space. It might have sections. And we'll suggest that whether it's an open space or rooms that are divided, you're going to want a few places in there. And we'll give you a moment to either revisit or imagine brand new. So let's begin with that entryway. And as you walk in, notice there's a light field that descends over you. A light field of pure white light. Fills and cleanses and protects you. It strips off anything from the outer world. And as you step through the entryway, you may notice that there's a room of relaxation, a room of peace. It could be a meditation room, a place where you can come, relax, enjoy your breath, and release any of the cares of the world. I'll give you a moment to imagine that. And does this room have a special chair for you, or a recliner, or some way of supporting your body so you can sit and relax, or lie down and relax? There may be other furnishings of one kind or another. They may be traditional, like chairs and sofas. And it may be just energetic bubbles that allow you to relax into them. At this level of imagination, anything's possible. Everything is permitted. And again, as you imagine this place of peace and relaxation or meditation, you can create changes as you will. You can create colors, textures. You might even have a soundscape that lets a sound current be with you. Have adjustable lighting with different colors. We'll talk about colors again later. And notice there's another area, whether it's in this large open space or a separate and dedicated room. But this is the room of learning and knowledge. In this room or in this space, you may find whatever you find useful to access information. It could be a vast library of books. It could be a vast library of digital information. It could be a supercomputer. It could be the universal mind itself. But this is a place that you can come whenever you want to learn something, know something, access memory, or develop new information. And whether it's computers or books or digital sources of one kind or another, find an area where you can have a screen. It could be a computer screen, a television screen. It could be a great big huge movie screen. But this is a screen where you can watch movies, if you will. Not necessarily the kind you would find in a movie theater, but movies of your own making. Later, we'll begin working with movies about your own life, about qualities of your life. And just for practice today, when you find yourself looking at that screen and imagining that you were a film crew and you were filming yourself this morning when you woke up, what would the film see? Let that be on the screen. Were you home or somewhere else when you woke up? Were you dressed or not dressed? And how did you walk into the morning? You may have started with brushing your teeth and showering. If so, can you see that? Or maybe you went into meditation and spiritual exercise. And if so, where was that? At some point, you probably had something to eat or drink. Can you imagine that? And again, this is just a beginning. With just a little bit of practice, you begin to recognize that you are the movie director, directing movies about your life. You're also the star of those movies. And you'll be able to use this tool to visualize life as you wish it to be. Changes you might wish to have come about. Experiences you wish to either have or change. And again, we'll revisit this area later. And now turn your attention to another part of your sanctuary. Again, if it's open concept, that's just another area in it. Maybe it's a whole separate room, but this is a health chamber or a health studio. A health center. And this is an area where you can come with yourself to experience greater health and well-being. And you may wish to have tools or diagnostic equipment of your own there. Could be the kinds of things you already know about. Could have x-rays and CT scans and those kinds of instrumentation you associate with medical centers. And it could be altogether different kinds of tools. Tools of your creative imagination. You may find it useful to put in different kinds of light tools. Light that can scan and reveal. Light that can direct and heal. And here we'll have different colors of light. We'll say more later, but for the moment, you want to make certain you have a red light or lights that when you find yourself bathing in the red, you find yourself strengthening. An orange light, which can bring in both emotional and mental understanding. And a yellow light, which can be used for mental clarity and perception. And a green light, which is often associated with peace, and healing, and nature. A blue light. Blue can be both peaceful itself and cool and soothing, but also reminiscent of loving and a different kind of divine protection. And then the various shades of purple and lavender, which are often associated with spiritual awakening, spiritual guidance and well-being. And then a golden light. That takes us even more deeply into our spiritual consciousness. And finally, a pure white light. And at times in our future, we'll visit these and use these lights in different ways. They have different properties, vibrations, and healing. And sometimes we don't need to know what vibration is being called on. For what purpose, we can just ask, what color do I need right now? And an inner guidance may show up. And so pause for a moment right now and just ask of your inner self, what color would you most like to experience? And in this health center, just let that color of light turn on and bathe you, to feel you, surround you, and protect you. And for now, just know that this room is yours. And again, it can be visited at any time. You can access it for any purpose. And if you find that you need something that's not there, you can simply snap it into place in your own consciousness. For at this level, creation is instantaneous. And again, this goes for any aspect of your sanctuary. And for the moment, just one more area or room in your sanctuary. And this would be an area for ability. When you wish to learn a new ability, practice something that you're learning. It could be mental learning, it could be physical learning, but just a place that you can come and access higher knowledge. And in this area, you may also place a chamber, an entry vehicle, a way that you can invite others to come present with you. And right now, in particular, master teachers, spiritual guides, a divine presence that is there to guide you, direct you, support you. It can be there to help you learn, to perceive, And I'll give you a few moments right now just to revisit your sanctuary, the entryway, the lights that come on, that relaxation room or meditation room, the health and healing center, the learning center with the screen, and this ability center where the master teacher can come present. And I'll just give you a moment to revisit and work with anything you want to in greater clarity. And now, wherever you are in this process, let's take a moment and go back to the area where the screen is. And we'll just use it for a moment to do a couple of things. First of all, let's go back to that morning, this morning. And just let yourself watch a movie of your day unfolding. So we're already up. And what did you do early in the morning? Did you go to work? Did you meet with friends? Spend time with the husband, wife, children, lover? And how did the morning unfold? Did anything take place this morning that you didn't enjoy or find pleasant? Did anything take place that you judged in yourself or anyone else? And as you moved into the afternoon, how did that go? What did you see yourself doing? Were you engaged with other people? All on your own? Were you working, playing, doing something to support or serve others? And again, how did that go? Were there parts of that you found enjoyable? Were there any parts of the afternoon that were difficult or challenging for you? And now come up to the moment just prior to joining this Movement Mondays session. What were you doing just before? And as you came into and prepared for this session, what were you present with? Were you calm, peaceful, and relaxed, joyful, happy, playful, maybe disturbed or anxious or stressed? Whatever it was, Just notice that on the screen. And now we're going to take and change the focus of that screen. Let's now imagine that you're waking up tomorrow morning. And you remember how today went. How would you like tomorrow to go? So imagine yourself waking up in a perfect and ideal state, whatever that is for you. But imagine you're awaking to a restful and peaceful place inside of you. And imagine yourself stepping into the day, bringing with you peace, grace, fulfillment. And how might tomorrow go if you bring peace, grace, and fulfillment to what you do, to those with whom you interact? Just let yourself imagine the day unfolding in an ideal, loving way, one that serves and uplifts you, and that serves and uplifts anyone you might encounter. And imagine that day unfolding, moving into the evening. And how does your evening go tomorrow if it's just ideal? Are you alone? Are you with others? And imagine tomorrow evening preparing yourself to go to sleep. Imagine holding an attitude of gratitude, of gratefulness for all that transpired, appreciation for you and how you addressed the day, how you treated yourself, how you treated others, and how you allowed the light to lead. And reveal yourself to even greater love. And so with that notion of gratitude to look forward to, of even greater light and loving that's coming your way, we'll have a brief opportunity now to visit with an inner teacher, an inner master, if you like. And so we have that part of your sanctuary where you can invite others in. It may be, again, like that Star Trek materialization chamber, or it's simply a special door. But inside yourself right now, just ask for the presence of your inner master, a divine guide, a spiritual presence. You don't necessarily need to know which one, but just ask for the spiritual presence, the inner master who's there for your highest good, to come present with you. Again, you may see a very specific form show up. You may sense its presence and not see anything. But as you attune to and are aware of that inner master, that divine guide coming present with you, embrace this being with the light. Offer that light, that color, that bright white light as a gift to this being for coming with you. And as this being approaches, you notice they have with them a small gift for you. The gift may be wrapped and it may not. But you notice and you sense that it's a very special gift, that it's matched to you and you alone. It has your frequency, your energetic, your heart vibration. And the inner master or the divine guide offers this gift to you and you receive it into your hands. You may receive it into your heart. You may receive it elsewhere, but however you receive it, welcome this gift. And notice what this gift is. What does it represent to you? And you may hear or sense the inner master telling you, this is a gift for which you have prayed. And I saw you asking for tomorrow to go in a more loving and graceful way. If you choose, this gift can help. And so what is this gift? How might you use it tomorrow and any of the days ahead? When you have a sense of that, if you like, you can share with this master, with this guide, what it is you're perceiving, what you perceive the gift to be, what value you perceive it to hold, and how you might use it. And as you share that with the master, you can ask if it has any further clarification for you at this time. And I'll give you a moment now to dialogue with this divine guide, with this inner master, and receive any additional support, guidance, or instruction that it might have for you. And so now thank this inner master for having been with you. For the gift that have been presented to you. Know that you can invite the master at any time. And now allow the master to move away. Again with the gift of light from you. And now with embracing that gift inside of you, recognizing the sanctuary you have constructed with the healing center, with the information center, with the learning center, the meditation and relaxation center. Find yourself coming back now towards the entryway as you prepare to leave. Know that you can return this at any time. And as you move now back out the entrance, just allow yourself to again be filled, surrounded, protected with the white light. And that light removes from you anything you no longer need, any karma, negativity, or any misunderstanding. And it's released into the light, dissolved in the light. And as you step out of the sanctuary now, you are restored to your own grace, peace, and healing. And now you may notice a sense of gratitude. Sense of gratitude coming over you, coming through you, coming from you. Gratitude for who you are as a being of light. Gratitude for this resource you now have. Gratitude for the inner master who is with you. And notice that divine blessing. And receive of that blessing more deeply into your soul, knowing that you are the blessing. You are the soul. And with that sense of gratitude, that sense of grace and peace, just allow yourself to bring your focus back into the room where you are. With all of us here present, and knowing that that inner light and master are still with you, breathing with you, loving you, and restoring us to grace and peace. And with that gratitude, we again say the blessings already are. And so now you might want to reconnect to your body here in the room with you. Sometimes it's helpful to move a little bit. And so with that, I think it might be good to invite any questions or comments or anything. And I see Sarah, you've got your hand up. So you can unmute yourself and share what you like.
Thank you, first of all, for this extraordinary opportunity. And as soon as I heard that this was a possibility, I got very excited. And I certainly bring that enthusiasm to my sanctuary and to this gathering tonight. My sanctuary is visually a real place that I know. And for this whole exercise to be effective to our mind, the mind doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. Is that how it works?
Well, yeah, I think maybe the simplest thing, have you ever been hungry, thought about eating something and had saliva show up in your mouth? And you weren't eating anything. Does the mind know the difference between reality?
Okay,
Not so much.
okay.
So yeah, the nice thing about people have created imaginary sanctuaries and then literally found the exact place somewhere in the world. So there's no boundaries on this. The only boundary is that what you do in there is for you and you alone. But others can't enter that sanctuary. Now, they might enter the physical sanctuary out there, but that's not the sanctuary. The sanctuary is the energetic field that we're developing here.
From your experience with working with this concept for how many years, Russell?
Since 1973.
Wow. Thank you for this opportunity tonight.
My blessing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who else has a question or an observation or a comment about what this was like for you? Anything? Ronaldo.
Well. The first thing I wanted to say is, being that I have a given, what is it? This, I'll just call it this reference of, let's say from a scale from 0 to 10. In prior experiences, I would probably say a 1.5 in terms of recall, conscious, connection, et cetera. Normally it would be more like I may get the beginning of whatever's being said, and then I'll kind of wake up when you say, well, bring yourself back. This time around, I must say it's more, I would probably give myself maybe a 6.5. And so I'm quite jazzed about that. That's quite a jump. I felt that, I was, even though I had just, might say, had a lunch because of the difference in time just prior to coming here. Could have been a lot of reasons I could have just taken off, but I was able, there was something about tonight and part of my intention and part of how it was set up that I would say I moved on that Richter scale, whatever scale I call it, the sanctuary scale, conscious sanctuary scale, from a 1.5 to a 6.5, and so I'm quite pleased with that. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ronaldo. Absolutely. How about Kathleen?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. That was wonderful. I haven't used the sanctuary very much over the years because I couldn't quite access it in the same way I had in the early years after doing a lot of insight. But I really did in this meditation, and I realized a lot of my sanctuary is not on this level. And it was such an expansive experience for me. And some of it was a little more grounded here, but a lot of it wasn't. And it's really beautiful. Thank you.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm glad that was true for you. And it looks like Alicia.
Hi, Russell.
Hello.
Hello. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I did Insight in 84, maybe. Yeah. Before, and then I said, I've been kind of, flirting with MSIA. After Insight, I took MSIA. And I did many, many insights and assisting a lot. And I have done it many, many years, I haven't done it. And I've been connected with the doctorate program.
Yeah.
And yesterday was the last class of the year. And I said, I need something that I don't need to be in a class all the time. I think I've been creating this, what I got today. I think I've been creating it. It gave me what I need to create what I want. That confidence in my divinity, in that part inside, that is, we can call it the Christ, the light, the inner master, that has all the tools. And although it was a little rusty now, using it, the tool itself, but it's the confidence, the trust. And I know I can create what I want. I can, because, I am in process of changing, because I changed from California to Maryland after living in California 30 years or more. And then I am starting new, and I'm ready to retire, but I'm afraid to retire. And I'm going to the new, something new in my life that is going to be better, because the negative power tells me, oh, you're getting old, you're diminishing. No, the light inside tells me the greatness of you is coming more alive.
Beautiful.
So thank you. I'm very happy.
Well, I'm really thankful you were able to be with us, Alicia, and share that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And confidence, by the way, is a word. We could go into this at another time. There's a lot behind the energetics of a word, but confidence can best be described as self-knowledge. The more I know myself, the more confident I am.
Yeah.
And there's a word faith in the Bible that was translated from the Greek into from the Aramaic to the Greek to whatever, but the original word best said self-knowledge. All this you will do and more if you have but faith, self-knowledge, knowledge of the true self. So
Yeah.
more on that, but thank you so much again. I'm glad you could be with us, and enjoy Maryland.
Yes. And you gave me another word, the truth.
Yes.
Truth in me. And the trust goes with the truth, knowing the truth.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yossi.
Hi, Rachel. Happy birthday.
Gracias.
I want to ask if Rinaldo can translate for me. Will be easier for me to express what I want to express.
Entiendo. It's up to you or not. No.
I'm available.
Thank you, Rinaldo. And I want to share the experience that yo quiero compartir que la experiencia que tuve ahorita
What I want to share with you is the experience I just had now.
fue muy profunda.
was very deep,
muy placentera,
pleasant.
no con muchas palabras que yo pueda expresar, pero es en ese lugar
Words.
donde yo me siento plena,
I can't describe it in so many words, but it's a place where I feel quite fulfilled.
y lo que me pasa cuando estoy en ese lugar es que no estoy muy consciente
And when I find myself in that space, it's not a place that I'm quite conscious,
de lo que está sucediendo, que yo lo puedo traducir en palabras,
that I can translate that into everyday language,
en lo físico.
physically speaking.
Por ejemplo, cuando tú dices que voy a recibir una bendición,
Like when you say or mention that I'm going to receive a blessing,
yo recibo esa bendición, pero en otros niveles. Y,
I receive that blessing but at another level.
y hay veces que yo tengo la expectativa de tenerlo físicamente aquí, de decir las palabras que estoy escuchando.
And at times I have the expectation that this is going to take place physically in a way that I can describe in words.
Y me doy cuenta, estoy realizando ahora
And realizing at this time
que la experiencia es mucho más poderosa y más sagrada que
that
las palabras.
that the
Sí,
experience is far more powerful and sacred than any words.
que las palabras que mi ego quiere tener para tener a lo mejor, no sé, un control.
And any words that my ego may want to state or define or have control.
Y cuando terminó que yo estaba viviendo esto tan delicioso,
And when I came to the end of this wonderful and delicious experience,
en donde había momentos de más conciencia física y otros no, pero
in,
muy
in-
sagrados,
in a place of greater or lesser consciousness, nonetheless quite sacred,
entonces recibí o escuché dentro de mí, y que lo he hecho algunas veces, que mi forma como yo puedo traer eso físicamente aquí
and then what I
es
heard inside, that the way that I can bring forward these gifts or experiences into the world
es escribir,
is
Escribir.
writing them down,
sin mi mente, solo escribir lo que está presente.
writing them without any sort of control or censorship, just writing them down.
So
¿Y
let
qué
me
es?
let me make a suggestion for you, Yossi.
Ok,
¿Está bien que él hable en inglés o quieres que yo lo
sí, en
traduzca?
inglés.
Okay, go ahead, Russell. You just in English.
So you just said a lot of words about how hard it is to put into words what you're experiencing,
Yes,
and your mind keeps wanting to try to do that, but
sometimes.
it's not of the mind.
No.
So when we have those moments, it may be best for us to just pause and go back in with it and let it reveal to us instead of us trying to explain it, because it already knows what it is. So let the energetic speak to you. Sometimes when we try to put this on words, we dilute the energy and disperse it. So bring it in, let it concentrate in your heart, and the wisdom will emerge out of that in a way that will be most profound for you. And sometimes the writing can be useful, but the same caution. Don't try to get it too specific in the word level, because it's not of the word level.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presence and being.
Yes, it has been beautiful and great. Thank you, Russell.
Absolutely. Thank you. We have time for about two more right now. So Ruth.
Hi, Russell. Birthday blessings to a fellow Gemini. Good to see you all. two things for me, a few things. Like, I haven't used the sanctuary for a long time. And I thought, I really want to do this, to revisit it. And very interesting that I just went straight back to the original sanctuary I created.
Mhm.
So I thought that was very profound for me. I didn't have to manifest anything. It all just was there, like I left it in its beautiful place. So thank you. And the other thing was when you said, I am the soul, I just had this beautiful, beautiful experience. Yes, I am the soul. I keep trying to be all these other things, but get all my bills paid, all these other things, but it's the soul manifestation that is the gift to me, and the healing that I was given in that sanctuary. So I don't know how I turned up today and fitted it in, but I'm just so grateful to my soul for pulling myself forward into this. So God bless, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. God bless you. And Noemi?
Thank you, Russell. That was very powerful. And the question is, you mentioned that, we could, or did I understand well, to use this tool during 33 days or 30 days to make it a habit and then continue using it? What is
Yes.
the best way to use it? And do we go through the whole process? I have the meditation of the sanctuary too, as a backup. And it starts from scratch, from building it, or do we go specifically like right to the sanctuary and then use specific rooms or tools? Thank you.
Yeah, I go just straight into it. You don't have to go through all that. In fact, in working with JR, over times we just go boom, be right there, not even. So we can go through whatever ritual we want that helps us prepare. And sometimes the basic self likes the ritual. The mind can move in it and all that, but you can move right in. In terms of creating change, see, I learned this technique back in 1973. And at the time, I was finishing my graduate school work in psychology, and I was running small personal growth groups. Now, to me, they were large. Most of my groups had 6 people in them, which I thought was, wow, geez, that's a lot of people. And then I went through this seminar where I learned this whole thing about what we now call the sanctuary. And there were 50 to 60 people in the seminar. And I went, wow, this is amazing. This guy's working with 60 people. Wow. And when we got towards the part where we built, back then we called it a workshop, he said, so if you want, if there's an area you want to change in your life, you can use that room with the screen, and then you can create a movie of yourself living the way you'd like. You see yourself experiencing the quality. You hear people commenting on it. You hear yourself. And I thought, wow, I'd really love to be able to work with groups of people and all that. So I saw myself on a stage. I saw myself well-dressed. I saw people coming up to me and going, thank you. And that was so helpful. And I was just really in this, I want to help people. And they were saying good things to me. And I felt excited. And then I created an affirmation. And it went across the bottom of the screen, kind of like when you watch a TV news show. And it wasn't the world's best affirmation, but I still know it to this day. It says, I'm strong, confident, in control of my life, doing what I want to do when I want to do it. Because I didn't feel like I had any of that at the time. So here's this going around the screen. I see the images. Well, he suggested, and I did, every morning before you get out of bed, go in and visualize that. See yourself, experience yourself, feel yourself, hear whatever you can as best you can. Do it for at least a minute. 5 or 10 would be better. And then go through the day. At the end of the day, you're laying in bed, and just before you go to sleep, go back in again. See that movie. Hear the comments. See the affirmation going. Every night before you go to bed, every morning just as you wake up. If you want to do it again during the day, that's fine. But those two things, doing it at night begins to work with the basic self and helps the dream state bring some of this forward. Doing it in the morning reminds us that something took place. We may not bring back conscious memory. Well, it wasn't even 45 days that I was working as a volunteer for this organization. And within 60 days, I was leading seminars that had over 100 people in them. Now, how did that happen? Well, it's not to say, well, visualize it and it'll happen. But what happened in the neuroscience of this, and we'll go into this more next time, but as I begin to put this into my inner space, I start to notice the outer possibilities and they start to line up. Now, the outer possibilities were always there, but until I could imagine myself in them, I wouldn't even see them. So with that in mind, it's a perfect segue. Whoops, that's I want to do this, come back to me. Putting things to work. Noemi, your question was perfect. My recommendation is if there's some area where you want to experience a change in your life, it could be in your physical health, it could be in your career, it could be in your relationships with other people, it could be with a specific individual, and we'll go into these more in the coming sessions, but spend 5 minutes each morning and each evening visualizing the change as I just got through describing it. See it, feel it, and hear it. And this will begin to build the recognition patterns that allow you to perceive and bring in the information. It also opens the pathway for spirit to speak to you, because you're now identifying more of what you want, how you want it, and well, there's a lot more we can say about that, and we will. Second thing you can do is, as you create these visualizations, start to imagine, is there 1 or 2 action steps you can take in the next week that will begin moving you forward? Any little micro steps, it could be anything. For me, it took me about a week or so, and then I simply wrote, I think, a physical letter to the organization and said, hey, can I help in some way? And they got back to me, and so I started organizing a couple of follow-up workshops for the original participants in the town that I then lived in. But little tiny steps. It's not from 0 to hero, it's just, as Jared would say, it's a cinch by the inch. And then the third thing is just keep a record of what you're observing and what you're learning. And it can be quite powerful to do so. And I want to do something that's not necessarily in my comfort zone, but as many of you know, I'm doing a lot of this kind of work just as a volunteer. But I could also invite you, if you wish to, you can help donate to support my work in one of these 3 ways. No obligation, just saying if you feel called to do so. Please, I invite you to do something that would be delightful. And of course, if you don't already have the book, either in English or Spanish, From Self-Talk to Soul Talk, again, there are very specific applications of this inside in the book. So it goes into a lot of stuff around awareness and awakening and change and visualization and affirmation and all that kind of good stuff. So that's pretty much what I had in mind. There's the 2 books with the beloved John Roger in the middle there. Kind of like that picture a lot. It actually sits right over here on my side. So that's what we had in mind. So shall I give this back to whoever's going to be our next?
Ronaldo has his hand in the air again, so I don't know what else to say except for Ronaldo's next.
Absolutely. Go, Ronaldo.
Saved by the bell. Is let me see. Is this taped at all? The sanctuary process, was it taped? I mean, to me, it sounds like, for me, if you said, well, the first thing is kind of warming up, be nice to have the tape, listen to it maybe a couple of times, as I get kind of warm myself up to this. Your thoughts about that?
Yeah, thanks. There's a couple of things. Yeah, this session was recorded tonight. So they'll send me the recording and then we'll make it available to everyone who's here. We'll probably post it on YouTube also, so anybody could do it. And then one of the things that I imagine is that several of you on this call have been talking to me about doing this kind of work, and I'm going to very much look forward to hearing your feedback and what would make this better. Then one of the things that I can imagine doing is making a better quality recording, and probably a series of recordings. So one would be general on the sanctuary, one might be specific on health, one might be specific on creating change. But yeah, this will be available to you within a matter of a day or two, I should imagine.
That's correct. And as we go forward, I feel like this will be something that for nights 2 and 3, we will send the link to people as well, because this would be good for them to have prior to night 2 and night 3. So that's in the plan for that. And thank you, Russ, for making the effort to turn them into YouTube links so we can do that.
Well, my pleasure. Absolutely.
Anyway, this was absolutely a stunning evening, just so exquisite and so beautiful. And I'm so grateful to you for being here and sharing this very special thing that I feel like is angel food in a certain kind of way. And so thank you so much. And thank you. I hope you have time now to go have yourself a really incredible birthday dinner. Because it's a time difference between here and there. So hopefully you will be able to do that. But all of us here, Movement Monday, anybody that wants to be in touch with us, Hillary will you can email Movement Mondays New York at gmail.com. We'll put you on our mailing list. But just know that we will do nights 2 and 3 of Russell on July 10 and 17. So that will be happening. We'll do things in between there, but that's what we've got planned. And he's so generous about offering to do this. I'm just so incredibly grateful.
And Lest
Anything else?
I just put the donate links in the chat, but also my website is just my name, russellbishop.com. And I do free counseling sessions for anybody who might want to do so. And you just go to my website and there's a place where you can sign up. It'll show you my calendar. You can schedule a Zoom call, and I just love to do that for you. So, and I see someone asking, can I donate from outside the US? And in the chat, I put a PayPal link, and PayPal works, as far as I know, all across the world. So that's available if you'd like.